on the Australian dollar. That's okay. Brad McFadden is joining us from the Daily Trading Report. If you have any questions about what's happening on the market today, we still have a few minutes left in the program. Our phone line's open on 1300 30 34 35. Brad, I'm really curious to get your thoughts on the U.S. market. Why you're so bullish on it heading into 2012 when there's all of these things that, you know, it seems like it's been a bit of a depressing program so far with Europe and everything else that we're talking about all the time. So what is going to be the catalyst to move that market higher? The catalyst?
The big question is, where do I put my money? Okay, so what's inflation in the US? We're running about 4%. What do you get on 10-year treasuries? About 1.9% thereabouts. If you invest for 5 years, you get about 1% per annum. Now, that doesn't make too much sense when inflation's running at 4%, so you're losing money by default. And equities, now, we have a very, very strange, bizarre twist, call it what you will. Now, in the last 30 years, 40 years, equities have not been this cheap relative to treasuries. Okay? We have a very, very crowded market in treasuries. Everyone is crowded in the treasuries. Now, the question is now, where is a marginal buyer going to come from to push treasury prices higher? And of course, where they've come from to push treasuries higher, they come out of equities. Where's a marginal seller going to come from to push equities lower? I'm very, very bullish on equities. I think they're the new safe haven. That's where you're getting a yield from, that's where you're getting a return from. And the earnings are very, very consistent. They haven't come down at all. Okay, so you're looking at strength in the US economy. You're looking at strength for equities going forward. So what sort of sectors are you zeroing in on for a reflection of that strength and then that are going to catch that ride upwards? I'm a bit of a chicken, to be quite honest. I'm looking at global drug stocks, particularly healthcare, things like Merck, and Pfizer, Eli Lilly. Also looking at utility stocks, which no one tends to take too much notice of, and they've been doing very, very well. Most of those stocks are very, very close to new highs for the year. And of course, as the US economy picks up, utilities tend to do quite well. So just quickly, how do Australian investors then leverage themselves to that growth story? How they get into those equities? What's the best way for them to... Well, most broking platforms, these days it's very, very easy. Most broking platforms have access to the US market. In fact, it's often cheaper to trade in the US market than it is on the ASX. So it's one of those things they should maybe on their to-do list for the new year. Yes. At least have a chat with their broker or financial advisor about that one. So. All right, let's move on because it is that time of the year, as we've been talking about. But instead of getting a gift card, we would like to know what stocks our market experts are hoping to find under their Christmas trees this year. So Brad, if you had to pick one stock that you would perhaps give as a Christmas gift to somebody else this year, what would that be? Royal Dutch Shell. Royal Dutch Shell. How so? Why? It's a new high for the year. That's listed in Europe and Amsterdam. So that is a fantastic opportunity. If dividend yield of 5%, yeah. Is yield what you really go for when you're investing? These days it is, yeah. The other thing too of Royal Dutch Shell, its borrowings are virtually nil. I think it's a debt to equity ratio about 0.3% thereabouts. So very, very stable. Now for any stock to be trading at a new high for the year in Europe, it says that, well, it's probably unlikely to go down anytime soon. So as far as price-wise, is now a good time to get in? Very good time. Very good time. And if you had to pick one Australian stock that you would like for 2012, what would that be? Telecom New Zealand? No, Telstra. Telstra's, and it's pretty sad, isn't it, when all you got to talk about is Telstra. But Telstra, dividend yield there, 8% thereabouts. Really a new management team, a new focus, and it's one of those sectors globally that's doing very, very well. So does Telstra, I mean, we don't talk about this very often. When we talk about Telstra these days, we talk about it in relation to the NBN. And we talk about it in relation to fixed lines, you know, and the decrease that we're seeing there. But is Telstra at all leveraged to that sort of global telco story? And what is that saying right now? Yeah, Nadine, completely. Most of Telstra's strength is associated with strength of Verizon, AT&T in the US, and also the telecom stocks in Europe, which are also doing very, very well. Why are we seeing telecom stocks doing so well in the US and Europe right now? Well, I guess it's the consistency of the earnings. Yeah. It's very, very unlikely we're going to see the earnings drop off anytime soon. Unlike your typical mining stock or chemical stock.
So where do you see as the big sort of risks for the market then in 2012? Is it that China story?
The China story. It's not Europe. Europe is more or less fully in the price. It's just going to keep on bundling along. It's going to create a bit of volatility, but the real risk is China. Okay. And no one's talking about that. That's the thing one should be very, very concerned about. As I said before, China's making the Shanghai Comp's making new lows, but no one's really paying too much attention. Everyone's focused on Europe.
Well, we are paying attention to China here at Sky News Business. Yeah. Brad, thank you so much for joining us on Market Day, or Lunch Money, I should say, today.
Thanks.
We really appreciate it. That is all we have time for. Stay with us. We have more Stododi coming up around the corner with Trading Day after this break.
The information featured in this program is general in nature and therefore should not be relied upon. Guests appearing on the program may have commercial arrangements with some of the companies mentioned. Before making any investment, insurance or financial planning decisions, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you.